Hi, I'm trying to get into today. I'm going to be talking about the subject of biotechnology. And to start off with that, I'm going to first talk about GM foods. What are the advantages and what are the disadvantages? So to start, I'll talk about the advantages. So first of all, GM foods, it can produce more food because food's easier to make uh, in that way. Um, they can have a nutritional improvement and also medical benefits. So eating GM foods can make you happier and live a longer life. GM foods also have a longer shelf life, so because of the way they make it, they can last longer in shelves than the more organic foods. And because it has a longer shelf life, it is also easier to transport because it can be transported in many different environments. And also, there's less use of herbicides and pesticides when you're making GM foods. Now for the disadvantages. Um, Farmers growing GM foods will have a greater legal liability. So if the food is bad, they get more likely to get in trouble. The genes, when you're making them, can cross into weeds and create dozens of weeds, and no one likes weeds. And there's been some studies that have shown possible carcinogen links in the making of GM foods. Now, I don't really have much concerns with GM foods. I've been eating them my whole life without even really knowing it, so I don't really plan to change on how I feel about them. And would I be willing to pay twice as much for organic foods? Probably not, because I'm pretty poor. Now we're moving on to genetic testing. So the advantages and disadvantages of genetic testing. So the advantages I could think up of were when you test on genes, you can get a better understanding of a disease, and that'll give you better information for the future. Now, some disadvantages if you're doing genetic testing on someone who's already sick, it kind of might tell them something they don't want to know. Maybe they actually found, like, maybe you're testing on a cancer patient and you find that they even have a higher risk of dying, and maybe they don't want to know that. And obviously, it kind of gives them a false hope. It doesn't really cure the disease, they still have the disease. It just tells people more about it. Personally, I support genetic testing because it can give people information to sort of fix the future. Like, they can take information from this disease and use it to fix someone else's problem. So then next, I had to find two articles on biotechnology. The first one I found was titled "This May Be the Worst Regulation Ever," which was posted on January 30th. January 30th. It was talking about a law passed in 2016 that made GM foods had to be titled bioengineered. And the author was basically saying that this will just confuse consumers, even though the foods might have come from the same place, and it will cause people to buy less of them when it's actually benefiting. And the second article I found was titled "China Opens Door to U.S. GMOs," posted on January 24th. And like the title is basically about China finally letting in U.S. GMOs to help benefit the population. Thanks. See you guys.